Recording is
All right,
on.
thank you for joining me today. I am Dave Hultin, and I am your AI for Printers workshop host. Today's workshop is about the customers you're underestimating and using the market segmentation report to help take a better look at those. For those of you that we've already talked last week at NPSOA, and I see my screen dropped off. This is something I jokingly was told that I need to have AI figure out why it's doing that. So let me bring that back up here again. Okay, so back to our regularly scheduled program. For those of you that we visited with at NPSOA, if you were at the National Print and Sign Owners Association conference last week, today's workshop is kind of an extension of the one that we did live there. We're going to use today's workshop as a real practical example of how AI workflows turn AI guesswork into something that you and your team can actually rely on. Now, during the workshop, when you hear me use the term AI workflow, I'm simply talking about a structured AI prompt that's designed to guide the work it does with you step by step so that the results are consistent instead of hit or miss. That's going to become obvious as we continue to go through the workshop here. So today's workshop will be hands-on, so make sure to get ready with your favorite AI tool. That could be ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, any of them. They'll all work. If you do not have a favorite yet, if you're still just kind of tiptoeing into AI, just go to chatgpt.com and create an account. It'll take about 30 seconds, and the free version that you create there, that'll work for everything that we'll be doing today. All right, so most printers I talk with, they're not asking, should we use AI? That question doesn't come up as much anymore. They're asking a question that goes a lot deeper. They're asking, why does trying harder with AI still feel like I'm guessing on what to do with AI? You might try a prompt and you'll get results that'll look decent. Then maybe you'll try again tomorrow and the results may be kind of the same, but a little bit different. Or maybe a little bit generic, and find that AI maybe doesn't quite fit how your print business actually works. So the problem isn't effort. It's that most people are using AI like a one-off tool instead of a repeatable system. And when you use AI that way, you'll find that you'll either get underwhelmed or overwhelmed, or maybe land somewhere in between with fear and confusion about AI. So today is really about seeing that huge potential in AI so you don't get stuck in that fear and confusion part in the middle. Now, before we dig in, I want to be clear about what we're here to accomplish today. The goal isn't to understand customer segmentation better. The goal is to leave this workshop with a scoring framework that you can actually apply to your top accounts this week, so you know exactly which customers deserve more attention and which ones might need a pricing conversation, and which ones are maybe even quietly costing you more than they're worth. That's what we're building towards today. And we'll do that with this agenda. We're going to run the workflow hands-on. We're going to look at that in the context of the bigger system, and then we'll talk about how to keep that momentum going. So before we start, I want to get a feel for how you and your team are using AI today. And I also want to make sure that you can find the chat, because that's where I'll drop the prompt in later for you to use. So look for that meeting chat. It's the word bubble icon on your screen there. And then give me an answer to this question on the screen. Give me an A, B, C, or D. The question is about your team's AI usage. Which best describes your team's AI usage? You use AI, but your team does not. A few people on your team are using AI casually. My team has a structured approach for using AI. Maybe you don't have a team and you're working solo. So you got 4 options there. A, B, C, or D, and I'm going to make some awkward silence while we wait for the answer. Hey, look at that. We're all coming in. Good, good, good. Glad to see the early participation there. So give me an A, B, C, or D on those. Yeah, we get a little bit of everything there. So that is, okay, thank you for that feedback. So now let's also take a look at what brought you here today. For many of you, I mentioned earlier, the National Print and Sign Owners Association. We did a workshop similar to this last week, so this might be your refresher. Total side note, if you are not familiar with NPSOA, go to their website, npsoa.org. .org or .com. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but you can search for them. National Print and Sign Owners Association, great group of people. So that might be why you're here today. You might have also heard me talk about the simple version of the market segmentation report, either at aiforprinters.com, or maybe you caught wind of this workshop through my posts on LinkedIn. Some of you have requested the upgrade version of that simple prompt at aiforprinters.com, and so that you get better results with that, and we'll walk through that too. For today's big win, I want to show you the AI workflow version of that prompt. And that's the one everyone actually wants, because that's the one that's going to help you get real, meaningful work done with AI. It's the version of the prompt that produces the high value results. You'll get today's market segmentation report AI workflow prompt in just a moment. But let's build up to it by looking at this simple prompt. And honestly, this prompt is a little too basic, and I kind of hope you don't use it, but I want to show it to you so that you can use that as a reference point to better see where we're going. So there it is. That is the simple prompt on the screen about customer market segmentation. It is that simple. Ask me for details about my print shop and customers, then help me build a simple framework for sorting customers into 3 groups: the ones worth protecting and growing, the ones with room to improve, and the ones that are draining my time and margin. What does that look like when we drop that into AI? I've got it in Chat GPT here, pre-run. And again, that can be on any AI. It doesn't have to be Chat GPT. And there it is. I pasted it in here. I'm going to go high level on this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just as expected, AI is answering. It's saying we're going to build this in 3 phases: understanding your shop economics, define what good means, turn that into a 3-bucket scoring system. And it's actually breaking it down into multiple steps. I think I've trained my AI to ask questions from me a lot here, so that one is showing up. You may or may not get those multiple questions, but you will get a long conversation with AI. That's part of using a simple prompt. AI just kind of honestly turns into a bit of a jabberbox, and it just keep going, and you never quite know where the end is. We do get something that kind of looks like the end, but we kind of have a long, wandering, wobbly conversation going with AI too. And so it's like, okay, we are getting information, but maybe not as predictable as we want or as efficiently as we want. So that's what a simple prompt looks like. And I have to move my screen around here just a bit. There we go. So if we look at a simple prompt, we can upgrade that prompt. And that's what this looks like. This is the one that you can get at aiforprinters.com, the upgraded version of that simple prompt. And this one, we have a little bit more going on here. I'll just point out a few things. Again, we're going to stay high level so we can get to the good stuff. But with the upgraded version of that prompt, a few things to note is we are telling AI, you have a very specific role. You, AI, you are a sales and marketing strategist who specializes in helping commercial print shops, so it's working for us, not just any industry, identify their most valuable customers. And we're telling AI to do that, ask me the following questions one at a time. And my screen dropped off again. Sorry, that's just going to keep a little extra entertainment for us as we go. There we go. Bring it back up. Okay, so as I was saying, AI is going to say, we're going to have AI ask us the 4 questions one at a time. There's a specific reason we do that. It makes AI smarter to pause and use one question to build up to the next question. And then we're giving AI some very specific requests on what we expect back. We want AI to give us a customer health framework that includes a scoring model, 4 clearly labeled customer segments, an honest assessment of which segment represents my biggest growth opportunity, and 3 specific actions. Okay, so we can see we've upgraded our expectations for that prompt. And now let me go back to AI and I'll show you the pre-run version of that. And every time I click on it, it always goes right to the end. So I'll give you a little bit of seasickness there and get back up to the top. There it is. There's the exact workflow prompt. The upgraded version of that prompt. It is right there. And you can see it is going to do that. It is going to ask me those questions. It's going to, even before that, say that here's its role. Well, it didn't even say its role, but we know that that's the role it's taken. And there's the first question. What type of printing do you specialize in at Print Perfect, my fictitious company that I'm using for this demo here? And we answer, and it uses that information to ask a better version of the second question. What 2 or 3 things make a customer genuinely great to work with at your shop? Almost got a tongue twister there for the moment. And it even suggests some things, margin, payment behavior, and so forth. And we answer. Third question, what are the biggest frustrations that you experience? The worst ones want everything yesterday. Anybody met those people? Okay, so we answer with whatever your answer is. And then our questions are answered. Question 4, your top 5 customers, what do they have in common? Again, just staying high level here. But we have a little more structure. That's what I want you to see with this upgraded prompt. We have a little more structure. And now AI has a much better pool of information to do its work with. And there comes our expectations for the answers. We get a weighted scoring model based on what works for our customers. We have our 4 customer segments, nicely color coded for us. And AI is saying you might want to pay attention to segment 2. That's where your growth potential is. And it says why. Not only does it say why, it says if you really want to dig into that, here are 3 actions you can consider for the next 30 days. So we're seeing an improvement there. And the AI is giving us better information. We're finding a better way to work with AI. And it's continuing to go on, and we'll just go as deep as we want it to. But that's still our marker because we want to get to an AI workflow. Just to let you know, it's going to look a lot longer than you expect, and that's normal. And just remember that using it is as simple as copying and pasting and answer the questions that come out of that prompt. And this is the one that you came here for. This is an AI workflow prompt. This is the market segmentation report. This is the prompt I'm going to give you today. This is the one that turns AI from interesting into useful. Now, before I walk through this, I want to pause just for a moment here, because what you've seen so far is how improving a prompt improves results. What you're about to see is what happens when you stop trying to get the prompt right and instead let the workflow do the thinking for you and with you. The prompt looks a lot longer than the others. That doesn't mean it's harder for you to use. It actually means that AI has more to work with, which means there are fewer decisions for you to make to get quality work done. You're not expected to remember any of this. You don't have to understand how it's written. You just copy and paste and answer the questions as it walks you through the workflow. This is you and AI working together over multiple steps. AI does the hard work. You check in to keep it pointing in the right direction. So I will walk you through that now, and I want you to keep an eye open for the improvement as we progress from a simple prompt to the upgraded prompt and then to this AI workflow prompt. And then right after that, we're going to go hands-on when I share the market segmentation report AI workflow prompt with you. All right, so a high-level walkthrough. What does that AI workflow prompt look like? And the biggest reason I want to show this is so that you have a little bit of a head start on where we're going. And where we're going to go with this here. Let's see. Let me go scroll up. I saw the note that came in the chat that you can't copy from the meeting chat. So if that is, we'll get the prompt in there in a moment. Paul, I saw your question there. If we get stuck, I'll just watch for your email address, and we'll make sure to get that to you so you can get it live. All right, in the meantime, here we go, the high-level overview. Remember, copying and pasting, there's a bunch of stuff in here. You don't have to worry about that. You just need to copy everything that'll be coming and then paste it in and just run it. And here's the few things that I want to point out to you. When you do that, one of the things you'll notice about how an AI workflow prompt works is it is going to introduce itself. I'm your sales and marketing strategist for commercial printing. We've given it that role. Ready to help you build a practical market segmentation report you can actually use. It is going to say, here are the steps we're going to walk through. There's our 6 steps: identifying criteria, gathering data, define customer segments, developing personas, align sales and marketing strategies, compile the final market segmentation report. And at the end, you'll get a playbook and a few optional next steps paths to choose from. Here's another important thing to note. Before we start, would you like a brief summary of the concepts behind market segmentation first, or would you rather jump right in? So just as a side note, if this is a topic, now all of you here, you probably are perfectly fine with a market segmentation report. But if the topic is a new one, or maybe one that's a little bit fuzzy to you, you just type summary like we did here, and it will give you a little mini education. You can go as deep as you want, and it says, here's what you can expect. There's our summary, a little free education that comes along with that. And then after that, we go through the steps. Here's the first of those steps. Spending just a moment on this, then we're going to turn you loose here. So step one, AI is going to gather information from you. We begin by defining what actually matters when evaluating your customers. And it's asking for that information. What customer characteristics matter most to you? And you can answer as much of this as you can. You don't even need to answer all of it. You can even say, just answer for me, and AI will take a good guess for you there. And then we just put our answer in, and AI will take that information, do its little thinking thing, and come back and say, all right, based on what you told me, here's what I understand. Here's the information you tell it. And AI is going to come back and say, I've done my work. Here's what we're looking at. And then AI says, this confirmation section, this framework is strong enough to carry the rest of the process. Are you ready to move on to step number 2? This is where you come in. You are the quality control at each single step. Are you ready to move on? Yes, move on. Or did you see something that might need attention? AI, let's pause here for a moment, have that conversation with AI, make sure you and AI are in sync, and then move on to the next step. And we do that for each step. There's step 2, and AI will collect information, and you come back with your answers, and AI will confirm what it knows and move forward. Step 2, step 3, all the way through. I'm going to stay high level. I want to get this in your hands pretty quickly. And we get to the end, and AI is going to say, here's what I put together for you. And here's a playbook of everything that we just talked about. And here are some optional next steps. One might be predictable. One might be the bold move. Maybe there's something that's a little bit more of an experimental, always specific to you. This is what it looks like to work with an AI workflow. All right, enough of me talking. Let's get that prompt in the chat here. And just a moment. Whoops, got to get my screen showing here again. So I'm going to put this workflow into the meeting chat so that you can use it too. Remember, you don't have to read it. You don't need to understand how it works. Just know that all you need to do is copy and paste. For those of you attending live, you can copy it from the meeting chat. For those of you watching the recording, if you want the exact workflow you're looking at here, I'll let you know how you can access it too. But let me get that in the meeting chat here first. And that is on its way right now. So that should be showing up in the meeting chat. And now it's your turn to run the workflow. Just copy and paste it out of that chat, put it into your AI, run it, and let your AI lead the work. I'll give you 90 seconds to try that AI workflow. If questions come up, I'll be watching the chat, or you can open up your mic and ask your question. And go ahead and run that workflow. Your 90 seconds starts now. I have my camera off, but I'll keep my mic open and I'll keep an eye on the chat. I know earlier, I think it was Paul, you'd mentioned that you couldn't copy from the meeting chat. If that is still true for you, just go ahead and drop your email into the meeting chat and I will get that to you. Remember, as you copy and run that, you can start by just asking for that summary if you want, or you can move right into step 1. Also remember, you can have your AI help you. You don't have to have all the answers. You can have AI You can just tell AI, answer for me. You can say, help me decide. Talk to your AI like you're talking to another person. Okay, we have a little under 30 seconds left. Remember, no expectation that you're going to get through all of it today, but we want to make sure that you're getting a good feel for how that works. All right, let's pause here. And even if you're in the middle of something useful, remember, you don't need to finish all of this right now. What I want you to notice is this. You didn't have to figure out what to ask. You didn't have to think through all of the steps. You didn't even have to remember anything. You always stayed in control. The workflow did the heavy lifting. And that's the difference between just playing with AI and actually using it to get real work done. If that felt easier than you expected, that's not an accident. That's what happens when AI is structured to work the way you work. And look at what came out of that workflow. I know you're just getting started with it, but if you go all the way through, you're going to find a lot of interesting information in there. Things like identifying your growth potential segment. Those are the accounts that are solid and loyal, but maybe there's have a fixable weakness that's quietly dragging on your margin. This isn't a report to file away. This is a conversation you could have this week. Conversation might sound like this. I've been reviewing our accounts and I want to make sure we're quoting you correctly going forward. Can I take a look at your last few jobs and come back to you? That's it. No drama, just discipline because of the information that AI revealed. So a quick note for anyone watching the recording. The live attendees just saw the workflow start working. And if you want to run it yourself later, you'll be able to get that exact workflow we used in today's live workshop. And I'll explain how to do that before we wrap up. So now that you've seen the different levels of prompts, let's do another check-in. Tell me how you are using AI today. Does the way you use AI match up with simple prompts or upgraded prompts or AI workflow prompts? And it can kind of sometimes help to think of that famous line that's one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. The distance between A and B, that's your small step. The distance between B and C, that's a giant leap. So I'll wait a moment. Tell me what you're thinking. Drop that into the chat. How are you using AI today? Is it A, simple prompts, B, upgraded prompts, or C, the AI workflow prompts? Which one is closest to your world? Okay, seeing a little bit of everything, lots of A's and B's. That's honestly, that's pretty normal to see the A's and B's. That still don't see a lot of people using it with the letter C here, and that's why we're here today. So go ahead and keep on dropping your answers into the chat, and let's go a little bit deeper and talk about the bigger picture of what's happening here. What you just experienced, that is productivity with one workflow. It's not an AI trick. It's not a limited demo. It's one productivity workflow from a larger system that we're actively refining for printers. And to me, what matters most is that it's shaped by how real printers like you are actually using this stuff. This workflow lives inside what we call the productivity toolkit. You just experienced what happens when AI brings structure to just one part of your work. And that's an important first step. But productivity alone doesn't produce the meaningful business results. It's productivity multiplied by performance, multiplied by execution. That's what actually drives your results. But let's zoom out for a moment. If you're responsible for sales and marketing in a commercial print shop, these are the buckets of work you're doing every day. They're your areas of responsibility for sales and marketing. And if we move those areas of responsibilities up to the top of a grid like this and fill the columns with the tasks that need to happen in each one of those areas, That's what you need to do to be successful in your role. Now, it's not a to-do list. Think of it as a map. Each box represents a structured AI workflow for that specific piece of work. And that can look like a lot, but here's what you need to understand. You're not meant to use all of this. In fact, the goal in the first 30 days is to use just the 3 workflows that are highlighted here. It's the target account list workflow to help you focus on the right prospects and customers, the prospecting email templates workflow that kickstarts the sales process with those prospects and customers, and then the sales playbook workflow. That's where you can lead those prospects and customers through a repeatable sales process. So I want to make sure you're hearing that. I don't want you to add more work. I just want to help you remove the friction from the work that's already there. And that market segmentation report that we just ran a few moments ago, that's from this toolkit. You didn't have to build it. You didn't need some fancy AI architect knowledge to run it. You just run the workflow. That's the difference between having a toolbox with labels and having the tools already built and ready to use. And when you work with a structured AI workflow, you plus AI can do the job at least 10 times faster with no compromise in quality and usually an increase in quality. And so think about that. What happened today when you ran today's market segmentation report? It was you plus AI. You were always in control. You didn't have to figure out the steps. You didn't have to decide what to ask next. You just move forward. That's the 10x faster momentum. And there's no compromise in quality because you're still the checkpoint. You're quality control. So if there's a quality issue, that finger comes back and points right at us because that's our role in working with this workflow. And you'll notice the quality of your work increase. And that's because you're no longer guessing your way through it. And that word usually in there, I kind of actually X that one out today. I don't know that that was always true, that we could say usually an increase in quality. But now it's more and more true every single day. That quality just keeps getting better and better. Today's workflow, that was about productivity. That's getting the work you already do done faster and more consistently. But remember, productivity alone doesn't create results. If you just get the same work done faster, you're still doing the same work. Performance is where improvement happens. So performance is running small, focused experiments to improve what's working. And whoever runs the most performance experiments wins. AI doesn't just help you move faster, it helps you test ideas faster. So let's look at what that actually means in your role. Productivity gives you time back. Now, what are you going to do with that time? Because if all AI does is help you move faster, but you're still guessing, then you're just guessing at a higher speed. And that's not what we're after. We're after performance. Performance is about improving outcomes. We're not talking about doing more work. We're talking about doing better work. And that starts by being clear about what you're actually trying to improve. So in plain English, what's on your screen right now, those are outcomes. These are the things you're responsible for getting better over time in the sales and marketing work that you do. And we move those outcomes up to the top of a grid. And if we look underneath each outcome, you'll see a combination of experts and known strategies from those experts. A few of those are highlighted on there. David Ogilvy, Seth Godin, and Michael Porter, they're just a few of the examples. This toolkit represents tens of thousands of dollars of world-class consultant level work. And what you're really getting here is access to that level of thinking, specifically for sales and marketing and commercial printing. But it's been structured into workflows you can actually run. That's how you get world-class results. While compressing both clock time and calendar time, we're able to move so quickly with this. And you don't have to use all of it. You just need to know that it's there when you're ready. Each box in this grid, that's an experiment that runs as an AI workflow. And we could run any of these AI workflows just like we did earlier with the market segmentation report workflow. And just like before, it'd be a simple copy and paste exercise to start the process where we add the context as AI interviews us at each step of the workflow. Here's what AI does differently. It lets you run these experiments quickly without hiring the consultants, without weeks of planning, and without guessing where to start. So here's a rule of business. Whoever runs the most performance experiments wins. Everything in the performance experiment toolkit can be turned into a bunch of experiments to help you increase the performance and effectiveness of your business. AI can help you run those experiments very quickly and very efficiently. You've already experienced that. AI will draw the information out of you. It'll help bring things up to the surface that you might not have even thought about. And it'll get you working with the knowledge of a world-class expert to help you with that performance experiment. Now, just a couple other notes about the performance experiments. Out of 10 experiments, most will improve something. One experiment might feel like a fail. I mean, that's just part of the nature of experimenting. They're not all going to be the locked down winners, but there's going to be one in there that'll change everything. And you find that breakthrough by running the experiments. And that's where the speed changes the game. AI doesn't just give you ideas, it helps you test those ideas 10 times faster. So imagine that you and I are exactly equally skilled. You run 2 experiments this quarter, I run 20. Who improves faster? Who learns faster? Who adapts faster? That's why I can say whoever runs the most performance experiments wins. And now you can run them with world-class expertise baked right into them. So remember how we started this workshop. You ran the market segmentation report workflow. Just one workflow. And it worked. You didn't have to figure out what to ask. You didn't have to design the steps. You just moved forward to get results. Now here's the bigger idea. If one structured workflow can change how you complete a single task, what happens when you apply that same structure across your entire sales and marketing role? I'm not talking about random prompts or scattered experiments. There's no try this and hope it works. I'm talking about a complete execution system built specifically for commercial printers. That includes productivity, so the daily work moves faster, performance, so improvements are intentional, and execution, so nothing stalls out. That's the difference. And honestly, most printers aren't operating this way yet, but some are. They're running with structure. And there's a big divide forming between printers running with AI, with that structure, and those running without the structure. Without structure, AI becomes just another interesting idea that never quite turns into consistent execution. And it's the AI Workflow Toolkit membership that gives you that structure. It moves you beyond casual AI usage and into a system that runs your sales and marketing with intention. It's a system that keeps your sales and marketing efforts moving forward, even when production is slammed and you're overloaded. For those of you that are on the call from NPSOA, you took a few days off. You're back to a very busy shop. Well, this system can help you keep running even when things are busy. So as we wrap up, here's the simple bullet point view of what continuing actually looks like. Continuing means access to both toolkits built specifically for sales and marketing and commercial printing. You can share the workflows with your team. New workflows are added as we refine them based on real printer usage. And every other week, this is the biggie. We meet in an AI roundtable to look at what's working and help you apply this inside your business. That's where I listen closely too. And that's where we get new ideas for the new workflows. Like, what are the problems that we can actually help you solve? That's what happens at the roundtable. The membership is $199 a month, or you can choose the annual option for $19.99 that saves you almost $400. And today we're still in our early access offer for the AI Workflow Toolkit membership. Workflows are already proven and they're already in use, but we're not at that full public launch yet. So the early access reflects how we're rolling this out before we make it broadly available. And that's going to happen soon. Now, most printers will know within the first month or two whether this is helping them. And that's why it's monthly. It's something that you can cancel at any time. Now, whenever I'm deciding whether something is worth doing, here's 3 simple questions that help me make that decision. The first question, will this help me get closer to my goals? If your goal is to run a more streamlined, AI-powered sales and marketing operation without adding more chaos, without hiring another person, without guessing, then yeah, this moves you in that direction. You've already experienced what structured AI workflows feel like. So the question isn't whether they work. The question is, do you want that consistent structure? Second question, does this increase my chances of success versus doing it alone? You can absolutely piece this together on your own, but that usually means trial and error, filtering out all the AI noise and inconsistent execution, and one more thing claiming space in your mind. This system gives you the proven workflows for printers, plus that execution rhythm of that bi-weekly roundtable so that the work actually moves forward. That in itself dramatically increases the odds that this is actually going to stick. And then the third question, can I realistically make this investment work? For most printers, that's not a philosophical question. That's a practical question. Well, if one workflow saves you an hour a week, or if it gives you better follow-up that lands one additional job, if you can get better sales and marketing results with less thinking required, then the math kind of takes care of itself. So if you can answer yes to those three questions, then continuing makes sense. And there's a link coming on the next screen, and I'll drop it into the chat now as well so that you can see what that path looks like. And that is coming into the chat. Here it comes. So you can explore that path. And if not, that path, you're not ready there yet, just make sure at least you take that market segmentation report workflow and put that to work. Before you leave today, just think of one regular customer who generates solid volume but hasn't seen a price adjustment in over a year. Run that market segmentation report workflow for your shop this week. Then take a look at the last 3 jobs you quoted that customer and ask yourself if you held on to the margin you expected. If you didn't, quote the next job correctly. No announcement, no apology, just correct that. And that's your one job. Now, most printers leave a workshop like this kind of excited about the opportunities here, and then you get pulled back into production. That's normal. So if you're serious about implementing this, we need to structure your first 30 days properly. The 30-day momentum sprint is something I offer separately for $500. That includes a private implementation session to get you going right away. So for those that enroll before 4 p.m. Central Time today, I'm including that sprint at no additional cost. Here's what that means. We'll schedule one private 30-minute implementation session where we map your first workflows to your priorities. You'll receive that customized 30-day execution plan, and over those 30 days, I'll personally hold you accountable so this doesn't become just another good idea that fades away. So the goal isn't more information. The goal is momentum. And then after those 30 days, you transition fully into the roundtable rhythm with everyone else. So to wrap things up, I'd like to share why I'm doing this. I started exploring AI because I wanted to make sure my company, Marketing Ideas for Printers, was prepared for a world about to be saturated with AI. But it became so much more than that. It became very personal because I've spent my career helping printers succeed, and I've never seen a shift like this one. There's a big divide forming between printers trying to figure out how to use AI in a meaningful way and those that are already using it as part of a structured AI execution system. I want you to have the tools and the confidence not only to keep up with AI, but to lead with AI and use it successfully. That's why we built this AI Workflow Toolkit membership specifically for printers like you, because it fits perfectly with our promise of helping you sell more printing. And that brings us to the end of the workshop itself. Everything you need to start using today's market segmentation report workflow, that's now complete. If you're watching the recording, you're in a good place to take what you've seen today and apply it on your own time. Now, just remember, without structure, this becomes one more good idea that fades. If you want the structure and the rhythm, the link to get started with the membership is there. For those of you attending live, I'm going to stop the recording and stay with you for a few moments to answer questions or help you think through how this might apply in your business.